The law in the state of California and also on a federal level is very clear. Fetal organs and body parts, just like adult or child or any other organs and body parts, are allowed to be donated, but nobody is supposed to be commercially vending human body parts for profit. Nobody is supposed to be either turning a profit on the sale of aborted baby body parts or adult body parts, nor is anyone supposed to be using and trading in human body parts as an independent unit of value. Because once you commodify human body parts that way, that's when you create incentive for bad things to happen and to look at people as just a sack of meat with extra supplies that you're going to be parting in and out, trading to meet your customer demand, as opposed to holistic human beings with their own purpose and dignity just for being who they are. There's multiple violations that we're concerned about when we talk about the trafficking of aborted baby body parts. We're concerned about the sale of fetal body parts for profit and the commodification of our unborn brothers and sisters, and frankly, the commodification of women and couples in crisis pregnancy situations. We're concerned about HIPAA breaches. This is one of the key findings of the congressional investigations. They found that the companies like STEM Express were just being given open access to patient medical files at some of these giant Planned Parenthood mega clinics, where there is no medical reason whatsoever for the harvesting technicians to know the medical details of the patient, how pregnant she is, when her appointment time is, what her address is, what her medical history is, what kind of disease conditions or other things might be going on. There is no valid medical reason, there is no reason for patient treatment whatsoever for a harvesting company like STEM Express or ABR or Novogenics to have access to that information. The only reason for STEM Express to get access to that information is it helps them meet their customer demand. That's another example of how Planned Parenthood has been a key partner and co-conspirator with these companies in the harvesting and sale of baby body parts. We're also concerned about fraudulent patient consent. The Orange County District Attorney's Office actually found that one of the early compliance officers for the Da Vinci companies had mentioned to Planned Parenthood Orange County, you know, I think we should probably put something in the patient consent form about, quote, commercialization, letting the abortion patients know that the fetal tissue taken from them will be commercialized if they sign the form. Planned Parenthood refused to add that word to their form. We're also concerned about what you heard about the abortion methods being changed to get more saleable quality or more intact body parts, like you heard in the undercover video from the Senior Director of Medical Services at Planned Parenthood. We're concerned about battery against pregnant women, that these are procedures that are being done without any consent being signed for them. Because if the patient is consented to one procedure and then the doctor goes and does another in order to preserve the body parts, it's a battery against the patient. And then, of course, we're concerned about, in the most extreme case, with the partial birth abortion that you heard described by Debney Kutola, we're concerned about partial birth abortions and born alive infant cases, because in all of these harvesting cases, no feticide can be used. The Kermit Gosnell grand jury report that indicted Kermit Gosnell for infant murder in Philadelphia several years ago, they said about the fact, because remember, Gosnell's clinic was operating for 17 years in Philadelphia. And nobody did anything, and they wanted to know why. And the grand jury said, bureaucratic inertia is not exactly news. We understand that. But we think this was something more. We think the reason no one acted is because the women in question were poor and of color, because the victims were infants without identities, and because the subject was the political football of abortion. This is a quote that I come back to again and again and again when I think about what kind of law enforcement response really ought to be expected by the crimes and by the violations against our unborn brothers and sisters and their families and their parents that are being documented both by the undercover videos and also by the congressional findings. This is something I was told very early on in CMP's undercover work in 2013 by a whistleblower from the company STEM Express, someone who used to work in the STEM Express laboratory, who said that one of the most disturbing cases they ever had was from the Sacramento Planned Parenthood clinic on B Street, a woman who was 19 weeks pregnant, and they harvested the liver from that 19-week baby. Liver was shipped straight back to was driven, couriered straight back to the STEM Express laboratory in Placerville. They pulled all the stem cells that were the most valuable out of that liver, put it in a vial, and they sold that vial to a taxpayer-funded company in California for $20,000. And so you can imagine, For a poor woman or a poor couple living in Sacramento who's maybe trying to pay rent, who wants to know about groceries, who doesn't know about baby supplies, $20,000, for 1 year, that could be half of somebody's paycheck for an entire year. That could be enough for somebody who's on the brink to pull them back from feeling like I have to go through with this or no, I can have this baby. But in the current system, it was more valuable for taxpayer-funded researchers to pay $20,000 to be sure they got the cells from that liver than to be sure that that baby could grow up and be a contributing member of society and thrive and be part of the community. And so the way that the system and the way that our policies are structured, especially here in the state of California, means that those kids are literally more valuable dead than alive. And I think it's unconscionable that it's 2018 and we still have to have discussions like that.
And if they can do a little better than break even and do so in a way that, seems reasonable, they're happy.
The Attorney General of the state of California, Javier Becerra, and the previous Attorney General before him, now U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, both agree that there's evidence of crime on these videotapes. Except Kamala Harris and Javier Becerra, as Attorneys General of the state of California, think that the crime is the fact that the videos were recorded and that these statements were documented for all of the world and all of history to see, not the actual fact of what's being said and what's being discussed on the videos.